Welcome to the Cozy Cottage Crochet Podcast channel. You may be thinking, it has not been 2 weeks. Why am I seeing you? This is not a podcast episode. I have received several questions from my lovely viewers, which is you guys. And I thought that I would record a quick little video and answer them. So you get me for like a 10-15 minutes on an off week. Crazy! Also, I feel like for some reason, 2 weeks is a long time. Right now, I'm not going to be recording another podcast until next weekend, a week from today, and I feel like that's a really long time to go without saying hi to you guys. So first of all, hi, thanks for stopping by. If you are a new viewer, this is not my normal podcast. This is just a quick little video that I am going to call the Cozy Corner. Although I'm not really in a corner. As you can see, I'm outside. I am outside because I absolutely cannot bear to be inside today. It is so beautiful, and I am not trying to make anyone who lives in a freezing cold corner of the world extremely jealous, but this is springtime in Florida. This is my backyard. It is green, the sky is blue, there's a beautiful breeze. I'm probably going to go to the beach later. It's April, so the water is warm enough to go to the beach, and if it's still a little bit chilly, then I'm just going to take my crochet. It's crochet at the beach season, you guys. I can't wait. And the high today is 80 degrees. So I'm really sorry if this is not your reality. But if you live in a cold place, that just means you can wear all of your woolly knits and crochet items for way more months. I have a half a month of winter. Tops. The rest of the time I have to resort to wearing them inside in the air conditioning because we keep the air conditioning cranked way up in Florida. So, I'm going to jump right in, but if you'd like to find me on the interwebs, you can follow me on Instagram. It's just the Cozy Cottage. No, that's not even true. That's not even true. Okay, clearly, I am not prepared for this short video. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's the Cozy Cottage Crochet. If you just type in the Cozy Cottage, that will be a completely different person. Although, if you're on Ravelry, that is my username, because Ravelry would not let me put all of the characters in to be the Cozy Cottage Crochet. That is where I'm most active, and you will get updates from me several times a week. So if you want to see what I'm up to in between podcasts, that's where you can find. Okay, so I have gotten some questions from some lovely viewers. These are in no particular order, but if you asked a question, I'm going to answer it right now. So first of all, some of them are yarn related, some of them are not yarn related. Becca has asked, will I ever dye my own yarn? Now, that's an interesting question because I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm not going to dye my own yarn. I think it would be fun to dye yarn. However, I don't have any materials with which to dye yarn. I'm not really interested in natural dyeing, so I'm not going to collect my avocado skins in pits and do that. That seems like a lot of effort. I know some people do beautiful natural dyed things. Not interested. I would probably be interested in doing acid dyes with neon colors, bright, in your face, loud colors of yarn. I would like to do that, I think, at some point, but I don't want to spend any money because I only have a limited amount of money to spend on yarn related items. And it is really difficult for me to spend money on things that are not yarn. I can talk myself out of pretty much anything. I would say, the polite word for it would be frugal. Cheap. I'm cheap, you guys. So if I spend, let's say I spend $30 to $40 a month on yarn, that's my yarn budget. The reason I use so much acrylic yarn is because I can get a whole sweater's quantity of yarn for $30 at Joann's with my coupons. Whereas a hand-dyed skein is $30 by itself, so I would get one. Now, sometimes it's worth it. If beautiful hand-dyed yarn, it is so fabulous to work with. However, I don't necessarily want to spend my $30 or $40 of yarn budget on something that I might not love as much as crochet. So this is kind of a theme in my life. I like cooking, but I would rather be crocheting. I like going outside when it's not too hot, but I would rather be crocheting. Pretty much anything in my life, I would rather be crocheting. So I'm not going to say I'll never dye yarn. Maybe I will someday. But for right now, no, I don't have any I don't have any materials with which to dye yarn. So I will not be doing that right now. Great question. Thank you, Becca. Maria has asked 2 questions. Number 1, she said, what product do you use on your face that gives your cheeks such a rosy glow? First of all, that's very nice. Second of all, nothing. I don't use any products. I don't wear makeup. Certainly, I don't wear face makeup. I will put on eye makeup, like eyeshadow, mascara, eyeliner, if I'm going out somewhere. But I don't wear foundation. I don't wear concealer. I don't wear any of that because I would rather be crocheting. It takes a lot of time to put on makeup. And 2, I constantly touch my face. Constantly. Like, I am always doing this or messing with my hair or rubbing my eyes or scratching my nose. Like, I cannot not touch my face. So when I'm wearing makeup, I get it everywhere. And also, it is so hot in Florida in the summer. I feel like my face would just melt off. Like, just literally slide off. So I don't really use any products. The only thing I do is I wash my face in the morning in the shower, and I wash my face at night before bed. And I have a daytime moisturizer with sunscreen and a nighttime moisturizer that I put on. That's it. That's all I do. The products that I use, because I have super sensitive skin, so annoying, is I use CeraVe, which is like hypoallergenic and blah, blah, blah. It's super expensive. Like, one bottle of moisturizer is like $15. I know this because I went to Target yesterday and I had to buy some. However, it does last a really long time. So $15 for some moisturizer that will last me several months and also not cause my face to be really unhappy is okay with me. And second, I think this was a joke question, but I'm going to answer it anyways, because in my last podcast episode, I was saying that I didn't have a 3mm hook and I didn't have any hooks between a 6.5 and a 9mm. And she asked, how is it possible that I don't own every size crochet hook? Good question. The only answer that I can actually think of for that is I used to crochet using boy metal hooks that you can just buy at any store. And I was getting awful hand pain. And then I had a couple Clover Amour hooks. Like, I had purchased one 6mm because I was using that size for a large project. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to spend $8 on a crochet hook, which again, hard for me to do because I want to spend my money on yarn, right? So I bought one and I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. So for Christmas that year, I think this was 2 years ago, I asked for only one thing. I was like, I want a set of Clover Amour crochet hooks. The large set. So it goes from like 2.75mm all the way up to 6mm. And I told everyone that's what I wanted. Nobody listened to me. Nobody. I was like, I want that set, or I want money that I can buy that set. Everyone wanted to surprise me with some kind of present. And I did get some pretty awesome presents that year, so I can't complain that much. But did I get any crochet hooks? No. No! I didn't get the one thing that I wanted. So I, after Christmas, was like, well, I'm just going to buy them for myself. And my husband was like, well, yeah, you could have done that before Christmas. So I found a good deal. So the set, I think you get 8 crochet hooks in that Clover Amour set. I found them on, it might have been Jetpack or something, some online website that had them. And I got a 25% off coupon for making my first purchase on that website. And they were already on sale. So I got, I think the set is normally like $70 or $80. I got them for like $50. So they are the only hooks I use. And when I say the only hooks I use, I tried to use a 6.5mm old metal hook on a project last year. I couldn't stand it so much that I immediately went to Joann's and bought a 6.5. And then I have my 9mm as well. The only thing is, because those sizes did not come in the set, like anything in between 6.5 and 9, they didn't come in the set. So I don't have them. So if I needed to use them for a project, I would have to order them individually. The 3mm hook also is not a US size, apparently, and I need one. So it's outside of the US. Clover Amore makes the 3mm hook, so I went ahead and ordered one. It'll be here sometime in a couple of weeks. I don't know where exactly it's coming from, but hopefully it'll get here soon so I can start my blurred line sweater. So, I mean, eventually I will have every size, I think, because I'm gonna eventually do projects that require me to have them. But those are the only hooks I use, and I adore them. I cannot be convinced to try any other kind of hook because I don't want to spend money on any other kind of hook, because I love my Clover Amores. Like, I'm a die-hard Clover Amore fan. Thank you for those questions, Maria. Moving on, I still have 3 more. Lisa, you asked, do I ever plan on having kids? The answer is yes. My husband and I have been married for 6.5 years. And so we're kind of thinking about it right now. One of the reasons that we're thinking about it now as opposed to previously is that I just finished my degree in December. So I have a more mental space to think about bringing another person into the world. That's kind of a big commitment that cannot be taken back. So we're kind of at the place we're thinking about it. Whenever it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. So I don't know. Yes, we are planning on having kids when to be determined. Brooke, in that same line of questioning, asked, how did I meet my husband? My husband's name is Josiah. So I will insert a picture here, hopefully, if I can figure out how to do this on my phone. We met in college, our freshman year. We went to the same college, but we were just friends. So we were friends all through college. We were both dating other people. I had a boyfriend, he had a girlfriend. We did not like each other like that. Like, I was much too cheerful for him, and he had large hair and was much too depressing for me. But we were still friends. We were in the same friend group. We hung out together, and it was like the last semester, so I had just graduated. Yeah, I had graduated in that December, and then he was graduating in May, and it was his birthday in March. And I missed his birthday party because I had to fly to a conference the next day, and I had to be at the airport at like 6 a.m. So I didn't want to go out for his birthday because it was late. I knew I was going to not get any sleep. So I said, hey, I have a legitimate reason to not be at your birthday party. I'll see you later. And then very uncharacteristically, when I got back, he was like, I can't believe you missed my birthday. You have to make it up to me, which is not like him at all. And I was like, okay. So we went out to a hookah bar in Tampa, which I think is still open. And we were just like hanging out. And I think we got there at like 8 p.m. and then we ended up talking until they closed. That's a long time. They didn't close till like 2 a.m. So we ended up talking for hours, and neither of us were in a relationship at that time. We both kind of had ended our relationships the previous year. And then I drove home and I was like, that was strange. And then I called my mom and I was like, so I think that we are compatible. So romantic, right? And he was kind of thinking the same thing. And I was like, but don't worry, we're just friends. He's graduating, like he's moving away. Like nothing's ever gonna happen. Obviously, something did happen. And then we all lived happily ever after, the end. So, yeah. We were together for 9 months. And then he proposed, and then we were engaged for 7 months, and then we got married. And that was 6.5 years ago. And our 7-year wedding anniversary will be coming up on July 31st this year, which I'm very excited about. So that may seem a little fast, but we had been friends for years. And he's probably never going to watch this video, so I can be as sappy as I want. He is the best thing ever. Like, I cannot imagine my life without him. If I'm you can tell that I'm like, all the time. He is very mellow. So I'm like a balloon, apt to be flying off at any moment somewhere. and he is the person holding the string. He keeps me down to earth, he keeps me grounded, all the things that I hate doing, he loves doing, so it works out perfectly. Like when we go on trips, I like going on trips. I do not like planning trips. Ugh, details, hate them. He loves them. He like lives for them. So he'll have like a whole itinerary planned, and I don't want to plan, but I want to know that there is a plan. I can't just be left to my own devices, because then I'll get really stressed out. So yeah, I mean, I could go on about how great he is probably for an hour, but then this would not be a short little video. So suffice to say, we met in college, and he's the greatest. And then finally, Robin asked a question in the last video. How do I determine how much to charge for crochet commissions? Now, this is a very complicated question, and I don't have a good answer. If I can direct you though, so Brittany from the Be Hooked Crochet podcast, which is an audio podcast, you can listen to it on iTunes. One of her very recent episodes with the maker behind Knititude on Instagram, I cannot remember her name, but she also is part of the community Maker Strong on Instagram. She does a whole interview with her on what you should be charging for commissions. It is incredible. At least I think it's Knititude. Maybe it's not, but it's like one of her recent episodes, and it's literally like titled how much you should be charging or something like that. So you should go listen to that, because it has some fantastic information in there. And I will tell you up front, I have not been following that information. I know it's really hard to determine what you should be charging, because there's this fear in all of us, right? That if you come out and say what it's worth, that people are going to be like, no, I couldn't pay that much money. So for example, when I first started taking commissions, I way undercharged, like way. So if the yarn was going to cost $5, I would charge like $10 or $15 for the item. That is not enough money to make it worth your time. So something that you have to realize when you're taking commissions is if you are saying yes to one thing, you are saying no to another. So if I'm saying yes to a commission that is paying me a very little amount of money, then I am saying no to making something for myself, or I'm saying no to spending time with my family, or I'm saying no to going to the beach. Oh my word, there's bugs. Sorry, spaz attack. So you have to consider, is it worth it? So if I'm making, one of the things that I charged $10 for was a baby hat set. I enjoyed making the baby hat set. The yarn was $5, so basically, and I think I had a coupon, so maybe the yarn was $3. So I made $7 on a little baby hat and a little diaper cover, which, okay, that's $7 I did not have, which I'm glad to be able to spend $7 on yarn. But the baby hat set probably took me 2.5 hours to make. So if you take, let's say I made $7, that is $3.50 an hour. That's below minimum wage. So you have to think about these things. People who are willing to buy handmade items will be willing to pay for it. So I have had people ask me if I can make things, and usually if I get the vibe that they are not willing to pay what it's worth, then my first question to them is not, oh, you can't afford it, or yes, I can, but I don't know if you want to pay. My question is, what's your budget? Because first of all, people are going to try and ask you to make things for free. If you really love that person, absolutely, make them something for free. Make it as a gift. But don't just let people talk you into making something for free, especially if it's something you don't like to do, because your time is valuable. And if you're saying yes to that project, then you're saying no to something else. So what's your budget? I had someone ask me to make a blanket, a throw size blanket, and so I quoted him a price of, I want to say $200 around there, which still probably would not be enough to make a throw blanket and break even on cost, because how many hours that was going to take. And he was like horrified by the $200 price tag, which I get. That's a lot of money. But if you want something for cheap, go to Walmart, go to Target. Your time is valuable. My time is valuable. I have spent years honing my crochet skills. You're asking me to make something because you can't, or because you don't want to. If maybe you do know how to crochet, but you don't want to do this pattern because it's really fiddly. You're paying for someone's skill, you're paying for someone's time. So I have had other people, for example, the crochet poncho commissions, I usually charge about $100 for them. Again, that's still probably undercharging because of how many hours it takes me to make those, but that is a much more fair price than me being like, okay, the yarn's $20, so I'm going to charge you $50, or I'm going to charge you $60. That's almost not worth your time. Now, I know that that's really hard, but you have to think about your life. So I would rather say no to someone who only wants to pay $30 for a scarf. And say a scarf takes me 8 hours. $30? Including the cost of yarn, that's not going to be that's not a huge amount of money. So if I say no to that, well, yes, I've missed out on $30. But also, now I have 8 to 10 hours to do something else with. I could work on my own projects. I could work on my designs. I could be spending time podcasting. I could be spending time with my husband. I could be going to the gym. There's all these things. So you have to be careful and find a middle ground. One of the things you will hear online is, oh, you just take the cost of your materials and multiply it by 3. No. What if your project is really complicated? For example, the first time I ever used fingering weight yarn was I used Loops and Threads wool-like, and I made a lace shawl for my mom. Hi, Mom. I know you're watching. That was not a commission. That was a gift. I made it for her for Christmas because she is the most crochet-worthy person that I know. That's an example of not a commission because I love her. So I made this shawl. The yarn itself cost me $6. It took 2 balls. The shawl took me about 60 hours to make. It was big, and it was fingering weight yarn, a thin fingering weight that I'd never used before. If that were a commission and I charged 3 times the cost of materials, that would have given me a whopping $18 for 60 hours of work, you guys. So you need to take your time into consideration. If you are okay with someone paying you $10 for a hat that takes you 2 hours, then okay. But if someone's willing to pay for handmade, then they're going to be willing to pay $20 for a $2-hour hat, or even $25. Let's say your material costs $5 and it takes you 2 hours. You pay yourself $10 an hour plus your material to break even. That's $25. And some people are willing to pay that. So you just have to find those people. Selling online, I really don't know anything about. I don't do that. When I take a commission, it's because someone approaches me and says, hey, can you make this? And I say, absolutely, I would be happy to make that for you. This is how much it's going to cost. And I do undercharge. I'm okay with admitting that I do undercharge, but I am much better than I used to be because I only have so much time, I only have so much life, and so do you. So if you're saying yes to making a sweater for someone for $50, don't do that. Your time is valuable. And you're undervaluing the handmade market. So if you make it for $50 and that took you 25 hours to make a worsted weight sweater for someone, think of how little you're getting paid, but also you're putting this idea into someone's head that that's how much handmade costs when it's not. You're underselling yourself. So try to be more fair with yourself. Remember that if you are saying yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And then also, don't use the materials times 3 formula, please. Try to be fair and equitable. And if someone doesn't want to pay that much money for your item, to pay what it's actually worth, or even, let's say, 60 to 70% of what you think it's worth, then perhaps that's not a good use of your time, because if they're not willing to pay a fair value, then they're not really aware of how valuable that item is and how special it is and how much love we put into the things that we make. So love yourself enough to be careful with how many commissions you take on. And the right people who respect handmade items will want to pay for them. Okay? Hopefully that didn't offend anyone. Like I said, it's something I struggle with and have struggled with, and I'm sure I will continue to struggle with it, but I'm definitely getting better at it. And I think that's all. I know I said this was going to be a really short video. It's like 25 minutes long, and I don't think I'm going to edit out any of it. So until I see you next week, which by the way will be the podiversary, you guys have a wonderful time. And also, if you have a question that you'd like me to answer on another short edition of the Cozy Corner, leave me a comment down below. There is probably no subject that's too personal. I pretty much will talk about anything, and if I think it's too personal, then I'll just say, sorry, I'm not going to answer that. Okay, so have a great day, you guys. I hope you're having a fabulous Saturday, and happy crafting. Bye!